Hi. I'm going to do a steam project today, steam bending, and this is my steam box right here. The steam box is made from one sheet of plywood. It's about 12 inches wide across here, about 10 inches here, and if you do the math, you can get each of these four sides out of a piece of plywood. It also has 1 inch foil back rigid foam insulation on each surface that wraps all the way around it. It's got some 1x4 pine that wraps around it in 4 places, just to give it a little rigidity, hold the foam insulation on there, and so forth. It also has a trap door. This is to close the steam in. I don't know if you can see in here, but there's also some dowels that run through in 2 places, so that there's essentially an upper and a lower shelf on it. So all of this was made for probably less than about $50 from a sheet of 1/2 inch exterior plywood. I dadoed the edges here, so I gave it a little bit more seal, and there's some caulking in there, adhesive caulking like liquid nails or some construction adhesive, just to give it a little more security. So it works pretty good, and it's going to be a challenge today because it's I think it's about 25 degrees out. There's a little bit of wind, but once the steam comes up, the box will actually heat up pretty quickly, and it should work out pretty well. Well, here we are back out at the steam box, and the temperature's coming up. The steam preheating of the box is well underway. What we've got here is just an old turkey fryer, not an old one. I bought it at Ace Hardware. It was about $79, and the thin-walled aluminum pan or kettle for it was actually too thin and too flimsy. So I actually went online and bought a stainless steel one for the same cooker, which is a little beefier, a little more resilient to the heat on the bottom should you run it dry. And what I've done is drilled the top, put in a rubber gasket, put in sheet metal screws so it holds the lid on nicely. There's some 1¼ inch pipe that's set into the lid here. This will be the exit for the steam. And here's my fill pipe, so if I want to interrupt the steaming and reload with water, I can do that. It's been on now for about a ½ an hour, and a lot of steam's going into the box right now. It's going to take a little longer today because it's about 25–30 degrees out, not much wind, a little bit of wind, not much. Now we're inside and going to take a look at the piece to be bent. This is the keel for a Herreshoff 11.5 foot yacht tender. The rabbet has been partially cut. It's a 1-piece keel. If you take a look at it on the side, you can see where the rabbet's been cut here. The bevel isn't fully cut yet, but I want to get the bend into it so that I can get the transom attached. This is pretty much the end of it right here, the aft end of the keel. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the bend in it so that this keel, which when positioned about right there, which is where the lines would be, actually more closely right there, you can see it has a pretty good bend. It comes down right here. Station 8, which I don't have in place here, is right here, and the transom, where it attaches to the base of the transom, is about 11 inches off of this horizontal line here, down in here. So that's a pretty good bend. And we're going to steam this piece of white oak in order to put that bend into it today. Hi there. Right here's our mold for the aft end of the keel. It was taken off of the lofting, which we're sitting on right here. This bend is right in this area here, with the keel being right here, transom being here. And what I did, just to make a quick line without getting too complicated, is that I have a transparency over here of the lines. And what I did is I transferred that to a piece of white oak, and I built the skeg for the boat because it's going to attach to the bottom side of the keel as we assemble the backbone. But I have this nice curve in here, and that's the shape of the bend that's needed in the aft end of the keel to conform to the molds and fit the transom. So I just took this skeg that I have pre-made, and I laid it down on my jig here, and I drew a line. But because it may relax a little bit after it cools, and we take it off the clamps, I put about an inch of overbend at the aft end, just a tiny bit of overbend in it, so that if it does relax and lose some of its memory, we should be right on our line. In any event, at that point in time, we can make it conform to the molds quite easily. So that's what I did. I drew the lines, and then I assembled and screwed in my blocking, so that now we have a nice line. So what we're going to do is, after the steaming of the aft end of the keel gets completed, we're going to bring it in here. We're going to anchor the aft end right here into the mold, into the jig, I should say. And then we're just going to wrap it around these blocks and put a couple clamps on it and hold it until it cools, and that should give us the bend that we need for that keel. Then the only thing that's left to do with the keel is to cut the slot for the center board, the dagger board case in it, and anchor it to the molds, and the transom and the stem, and at that point in time finish up the rabbet, and then we'll be ready to start blanking. So it's going to be a good day, got a lot done, and shortly we should be able to take the keel out of the steam and bring it in here and bend it. So we're looking forward. Okay, we got the first bend into the wood. We put it in for about 25 minutes or so. Went down, bent it into the mold. We let it cool. See that bend is nice in there. It fits the mold for the boat quite well. I think it'll just have to get pressed down a little bit in this section right here. But it worked out great. And so now what we did is we reversed it, and we have the aft end into the keel now, into the steam box now. And we're going to steam this for about an hour because it's an inch thick. And then we'll take it out and we'll put it onto the molds and bring it around and clamp it, and we'll leave it there to cool probably the rest of the day or overnight. And that should give us a nice bend and conform to the molds for the Herreshoff 11.5 foot yacht tip. Okay, here's the keel right here, nicely steamed. What we're going to do is just set it in the jig about right there, and we're going to move it so that the aft end of the keel is positioned right there. I'm going to put a couple shims in right here just to tighten up this bend, and then you'll see how easy it is just to bring it right around. This is clamps. I'm going to just stick one right there for right now, and we're going to use another one right here just to draw this end in. Then we'll draw this end in here as well, and then we'll just put a clamp pad on there. Yeah, that pretty much does it. It's rather simple once you get the heat on it. We actually coated this end with some linseed oil before we steamed it, and but it conformed real nice. It's pretty hot right now, but in an hour or so it'll cool, and it'll have that the memory of that curve in there, and we'll be all set to stick it onto the boat. So that looks quite good, and that was single-handed, no helpers. So it's pretty simple. Of course, it was a simple bend. So anyway, that's the steam bending of the keel in a nutshell, and hope you enjoyed it. Take care.